Hello everyone, Kaoz here, and welcome to another old school RuneScape video. In a poll I asked you guys what you want to see for this week's content, and you chose gear progression guides for all combat styles. It actually beat the money making videos, but those will come out later next week. So today we will start with the melee gear. If you enjoyed this video and are looking forward to more gear progression guides and the money making videos, make sure to subscribe, and if you really enjoy them, you could turn on that nice notification bell. But before we start, I have a few disclaimers which are very important to disclose to give the video more context. As you can see, there's a lot of them, so I'll mention them relatively fast to avoid dragging them for too long. Number 1, all the prices you see in the video are subject to change since the market is always fluctuating. Number 2, I will assume you have base 40 stats to begin with, and we will build up from there. Number 3, this video is mostly aimed towards unrestricted accounts who can use the Grand Exchange, but Iron Man could still benefit from these tips. Number 4, I will assume you have average wealth and that you are not either super rich or super poor, so all the upgrades you see here are fairly budget friendly until we get to the late game. Number 5, I won't include the Slayer helmet in this video because we are looking at its strictly DPS outside Slayer, but you should always wear one when training the skill. Number 6, none of these upgrades you see here are mandatory. You can follow your own path, but they are fairly standard in terms of DPS and defensive stats. And finally, number 7, I will not cover niche gear such as Inquisitor, Void, Justiciar, since those are not exactly useful in every single instance. So with that, let's begin. We will start with a standard free-to-play gear including full rune, a rune scimitar, as well as an amulet of strength. As you can see, there's nothing particularly useful in the cape, gloves, and boot slot, since there's nothing else we can use in free worlds. A humble looking gear with around 145k. When you get your first membership, you are going to go to the Grand Exchange to buy a few items that are available to you right away. These are an amulet of glory, a blessing of your choice, a combat bracelet, and finally a pair of rune boots. If you want an immediate upgrade for better defense, you can buy an obsidian cape, but this won't be useful for long and it's fairly expensive compared to other items. If you decide to skip on the obsidian cape, you are going to head to RD to do the easy achievement diary to obtain the RD cloak 1 for unlimited teleports near an altar. The defensive stats and utility on this item are pretty good for the early game. And speaking of early game, we are going to do Monkey Madness 1 to unlock the Dragon Scimitar. If you don't have level 60 attack at this point, the quest reward should give you a very nice push towards that level in order to wear it. As we are leveling up our stats at this point, I recommend getting 65 attack and strength to be able to access the Warriors Guild in Berthorpe to kill Cyclops to obtain the Rune Defender and increase your DPS thanks to the shield slot. You will take a break from leveling up and we are going to do a few quests, starting with the Frenetic Trials to unlock the Berserker helmet, which you can wear after getting 45 defense, and now we are going to start getting strength bonus in our head slot as well. Since we are in the questing mood, I recommend doing the Frenetic Isles straight away, and this will give you access to the iconic Nezzy helm, which you will be able to wear after getting level 55 defense, and this will also give you slightly higher DPS for the helmet slot. Now, since we are pretty close to an important defense level, I recommend training for a bit more to get level 60 and then go back to the Warriors Guild to kill more Cyclops and get a Dragon Defender. After you get it, you can also buy a pair of Dragon Boots immediately to get even more DPS. At this point, you should have decent enough stats to complete the recipe for disaster and get the Bearer's Gloves, which are going to be the best in slot for the foreseeable future. Now, some people could say this upgrade is pretty steep, but the quest itself is no big deal. The only quests which could be quite lengthy and could potentially give you a problem are Desert Treasure and the Legends quest, but honestly it's not that bad. And speaking of the Legends quest, you could also look into buying a Legends cape for slightly better defensive stats at the cost of the RD Cloak teleport, so this one is completely up to you. Next, this may sound painful, but I recommend going to Barbarian Assault and work your way towards a Fighter Torso, and finally upgrade that Rune Plate body to get some strength bonus in the chest slot. At this point, our account is looking pretty sexy, and with these next upgrades, I would say we are heading into the mid-game, so you should potentially have enough money for these. You are going to buy a Berserker Ring, Obsidian Legs, and a Sarachnis Cudgel. in whatever order your budget allows, but I recommend doing it in that order. Now, the cudgel may not look as powerful as the Dragon Scimitar, but stats-wise, it's going to give you better DPS if you have the cash. Our next upgrade is not going to be an item, but rather a prayer, and you are going to complete the King's Ransom quest as well as the Knight's Training Grounds afterwards. Paired with 60 prayer, you will unlock this buff for more damage whenever you're training melee. You should now be ready to attempt the fight caves and go for the fire cape. Keep in mind that it's always recommended to do this activity with ranged gear, but that video is coming up next. After defeating Jad, you should work your way towards 70 attack and 70 strength to unlock our next two big items, and these are the Abyssal Whip and the Amulet of Fury. I am listing these together since they are not as expensive as they used to be, but if you can only afford one, get the Whip first and then the Fury. Next, you are going to train defense and prayer in order to unlock piety and the ability to wear a dragon fire shield. Now, this is where some people could disagree because the dragon defender is going to give you better offensive stats in terms of accuracy, but the dragon fire shield is going to give you one more strength bonus as well as amazing defensive stats. If you are good with prayer flicking, you won't take damage either way, so this one is also completely up to you. You are now going to grind Nightmare Zone points to imbue your Berserker ring and give it twice as much power for even more DPS in the ring slot. Just keep in mind that this could take a while and it can actually be pretty boring. With these next upgrades, I would say we are nearing the late game gear and we are going to look into buying a Serpentine Helm as well as an Amulet of Torture. If you want, you can skip on the helmet as you need scales to charge it and could be a little expensive later on, but that poison immunity could be pretty helpful in some areas. And don't forget you need 75 HP to wear the amulet. You are then going to train your melee stats up to 80 to be able to wear the Ferocious Gloves, which are surprisingly cheap nowadays. These are the best in slot melee gloves in the game, and they should be for a long time, so just don't worry about that investment. Now, this is where upgrades stop being cheap, and we are now looking at fairly expensive items after each step. You should now aim to buy Bando's armor since it's the best overall melee armor in the game with pretty good defensive stats as well as strength bonuses. And of course, I know the Inquisitor armor might be better if using a crush weapon, but like I said before at the beginning, that's pretty niche and bandos can be used to pretty much anywhere. The next big item is for our helmet and boots, and you are going to do the Fremennik Exiles quest to unlock the Natus Not Face Guard, as well as buying a pair of Primordial boots for the best stats in their category. If your gear is looking like this, you may possibly have high enough stats to do the Elite Current Diary to upgrade your blessing into the Radus Blessing 4. Although that 95 Slayer requirement might be a bit steep, so this upgrade is also up to you and the progression of your account. We now come to one of the most important upgrades in a long time, and it's about your weapon. We have the Grazi Rapier, the Blade of Salidor, and the Inquisitor's Mace. All of these have the best one-handed offensive stats in their own style, which are Stab, Slash, and Crush in that order. And this one is completely up to your budget and your wallet, or if you have enough shards to charge the blade. If you want a personal suggestion, I would go for the Grazi Rapier, as it is significantly cheaper than the mace and you don't need to charge it. We are now going to say goodbye to the Dragonfire Shield and upgrade our Dragon Defender to an Avernic Defender by buying an Avernic Hilt for a humble 41 million GP. Just remember that this is permanent and you will not get either the Dragon Defender or the Avernic Defender hilt back. Our last important upgrade is going to be the Infernal Cape, and I don't even need to mention how hard this could potentially be because of the Inferno, so if you are going for this item, I wish you the best of luck and I give you my blessing. The last item I recommend getting is a Scythe of Vitur, but this is only useful if you are going to camp either a Theater of Blood or if you are pet hunting and you need high enough damage output. Also, keep in mind that this item is very expensive to charge, so you should only do it in a place where you are going to yield profit, or you don't care about money since you just want the pets. And as for some honorable mentions, the Abyssal Bludgeon and the Saradomin Sword are good two-handed weapons to train strength, and the Amulet of Blood Fury is also good in places where you need more sustain and lifesteal, but generally I wouldn't recommend the weapons if you are not training strength. And that's pretty much it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed and learned something new. If you disagree with anything I said, make sure to leave a comment below so we can discuss about it. In the next video we are going to look at the ranged gear, so hopefully you guys are looking forward to that. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you soon.